Yeah.
You guys had a signature?
Yeah, we had a signature. We would do different characters, but we would with the same guy, and he never catch on. And we
Oh,
were,
really?
yes, and
Oh,
we
so
would
it's the
always
same
and
online
we
guy, on-air
would
guy.
always yeah.
It's
Wow.
hard to do good prank calls.
It is.
I was not very good at it. I had a friend who was, but it's always amazingly entertaining.
It is. My friend was
So
good
hard
at
to
it.
keep a straight face.
I couldn't
No, I
believe that
know.
she was good at it too. She
Oh
always
my
called
God.
Love Line when Love Line was really just starting out.
Yeah.
When it was Poor Man. If anyone
Yes.
remembers the came
Yes,
out,
absolutely.
you know, she was good. She was so good. She could keep a straight face and look at the whole story, the drama.
Amazing.
This was, she was so good.
Yes, it is hard.
Wow.
Didn't they do a wait? Oh wait, the thing with the puppets. Crank.
Oh, yeah. Crank
That was big
Yankers.
for a while.
Crank Yankers.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was pretty, you know what?
That was like the whole, what was the,
It was Jimmy Kimmel and
I know, but the Crank Yankers were,
Yeah, and there was a name for him.
no, but the New York, the guys from New York.
Oh, the something boys, right?
oh,
Jerky
yeah,
Boys.
Jerky
Oh,
Boys.
that's right. The jerky.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. That was pretty
I
funny.
have the CD. So
Really?
Still holds up, yes.
Wow.
I have a Jerky Boy CD.
I have the Jerky Boy CD. My eyes, they're killing me.
One of the funniest things ever was, you know, a comedian named Tom Mabe, M-A-B-E. He did an album called Revenge on the Telemarketer.
Ah.
It's brilliant. Basically, what he did, he had his phone set on a table, and he had little sound effects, and he recorded over the period of about.
1 o'clock. It's one.
It's one.
Oh, it's one. And on that note, no, we'll be back to that story. Actually, that story fits in perfect with what we wanted to talk about.
Yes, and welcome everybody to the NATPE Brown Bag.
Oh, wow.
And you are Mark Drop.
And you're Jerry Leibowitz.
I am. We should introduce one another.
Right. It's too late for that now.
It is.
But we were rather than have the NATPE people interview us, we thought we'd interview each other. Right?
I think that's a good idea. Don't you think?
So why, Jerry? No, I don't know. So you want to talk about a little bit about how we ended up in this crazy business?
Yeah, so we're going to
Did
talk
I
a
just
little
move
bit.
out of the camera?
What's that?
No, you go.
No.
Okay. Can you see the plant?
Yes, that's made sure of that.
The plant needs its own hashtag, by the way. You guys
It
should
does.
develop that.
It does.
Yeah.
What's the plant's name? You didn't name it?
George.
Okay, all right. So it's Jerry and Mark and George. So we're both together. We make cartoons, and then separately we each do other things. Currently, I'm working on a show called Jake and the Neverland Pirates, which is on the Disney Junior Network. Hook and Smee from Peter Pan, and young little kids chasing Hook around, and hilarity ensues.
Very funny.
It's really fantastic opportunity. I mean, I was just in the recording studio yesterday with Corey Burton and Jeff Bennett, who are these consummate, amazing voiceover geniuses, and they're doing Hook and Smee. And we had a bunch of scripts, and they just did the scripts back to back. These two amazing geniuses just riffing and ad-libbing
Wow.
and doing our stuff and bringing it to life with these classic characters. And so that's what I'm doing right now for my living, is watching these, incredible artists storyboard my stuff. And
I think that's one of the most amazing things is when you have an animation script and the voices bring the characters to life.
Absolutely.
And it takes it to another completely
That
different
is the
level.
first step in an animated cartoon, is you take the script and then they do the voices. So then the board guys are working to these incredible performances. Anyway, that's what I'm doing off on my own.
But Mark and I met years ago. I created and produced a show for UPN Kids Network called The Mouse and the Monster. And once we got the green light for the show, of course, there was a huge stack of scripts piled up on my desk daily to
Spec scripts from writers?
Yeah, go through writers. And I remember reading all of them, and I came to Mark's script, the script that you wrote for dinosaurs.
I love this story.
It's
nobody in the world tells this story except you, about how great you thought the work
and the
was.
script was it completely jumped out from all the other scripts.
Wow.
It did, dude.
I was very lucky that was the first show I was on, was Dinosaurs, which was, It's like, hey, welcome to Hollywood. Now here, work on this show where they're going to spend $1 million an episode, and Jim Henson puppet characters are going to walk around on stage, and they're going to use F-16,
It was
control knobs to move the heads. It was an amazing experience.
It was an amazing show.
And I got to write music for that for the first show I was on. I got to,
did?
yeah. So I was like this kid who didn't know what he wanted to do, and I was in bands, and I was doing improv and stand up and acting and writing 10 different kinds of things, and then and so that's one of the great things about animation I found, and working for kids is in the animation world. Not a lot in sitcoms with the dinosaurs thing, but in the kids world, you can write some music once in a while. You can write songs.
Right.
They want to have songs. They want to have music. The kids love that.
Right.
And so and you're working with these ridiculously talented artists, and you're doing as you're writing a kid's script, you're often directing what's going to happen. It's much more specific about they enter from this way, and they the action is like this, and it's broken out like this. So
Right.
you're basically sort of have to sit and dream up the cinema
Right.
of the show.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I really do love working in the
Yeah, it was
animation for
amazing.
kids thing. Absolutely. So anyway,
but
as
no,
you were
but we
talking about this Mouse and Monster show of yours, it's
Yes.
a fascinating idea that this guy who's making newspaper cartoons and radio shows and doing a million things like I was,
Yeah.
and then suddenly your very first TV show, you're running the show.
Yeah. No.
What is that? How does
I hate
that
this
happen?
is the greatest. Well, no, it's a good question, because I had a graphic design firm. I was doing a lot of illustration, but I've always been a storyteller. I mean, back when I was a kid, I don't know if I ever told you this, but when I would run out of allowance to buy comic books with, I would have to make my own comic books, so create my own characters. So, and I did, and then when I would finish, I would read them as if I hadn't even written it. It's like, whoa, that's
This
cool.
is riveting.
Yeah, exactly.
What's going to happen next?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I think I was always a cartoonist and storyteller,
Wow.
at heart. So even though I was doing, I was doing paintings and doing gallery shows and doing some merchandising in Japan, and a bunch of different things that all sort of led me to this animation. So anyway, I wound up, a buddy of mine was already working in animation, and I had created these characters called the Mouse and the Monster, and his agent had saw them and said, "Do you want to pitch this as a cartoon show?" And I said,
Nah. No.
Yeah. I said, "Yeah, sure." So she mailed it.
Through
Wasn't
the
even
mail.
a pitch meeting. Yeah, she mailed it to.
Yeah. So that's our advice out there. Don't waste
Yeah,
your time
don't-
pitching.
just mail things.
Just mail things in. That always works.
Yes. So she.
I'm being facetious.
No.
Don't mail anything
No,
ever.
she mailed it, and then we got to UPN that was forming a kids network, and we got a call from the woman running the network. Said, "This is really funny. This feels like a new era. Rocky and Bullwinkle come in and talk to us." So we took a meeting with her. It's like, really, I have to do a meeting? Can't they just? God,
Oh my
they like
God.
it. Just put it on the
You
air.
see?
Anyways,
That's
so we did a meeting with her, and I sort of snowed. She said, she said, you've never run a show before. How do you feel? Why do you feel you're able to do this? And I said, look, I've had a design studio for years. I said, I'm always working with multiple clients and balancing projects. I said it's just sort of more of what I do. I said, but I'm a cartoonist. I said, I'd love to do this. Anyways, they moved forward. They greenlit the show, and fortunately, we were doing the show with a production company that hadn't made shows like. It was very edgy. It was very kind of Ren and Stimpy-esque. It was sort of out there. In fact, a lot of people have asked me, how the hell did you ever get that on the air?
the whole thing.
Because
Sort
we
of
went
was
to
like
places,
An
yeah.
accident.
So the production company had never made a show like that. So they just gave me free reign.
Awesome.
So
That's
and
amazing.
It was pretty crazy.
So
So,
what
I was
were-
able to do pretty much whatever I wanted to do with the show.
So we're setting up our brown bag presentation about pitching by discussing how we got things made without pitching them. but together, the
Yeah.
work we've done together as a team, we do go and pitch, and we work very hard at it. We put a heck of a lot of work into it.
We do.
But I think one of the main things that we would like to communicate to people is we put so much work into what we're going to bring that we've seen that show in our heads and we've run through it. And Jerry is exhaustive with how much artwork. He's the cartoonist. We both write, but he's the one who can draw these amazing. And he starts each pitch from ground zero, a new style, all new characters, a new way of drawing. It's kind of crazy. But what we do is we work and we work and we work, and then we finally feel ready, so that when we go in, we never read anything to people. You know,
No.
that's one of the main things is we talk about our cartoon. I think the idea that we do is we talk about the cartoon like it's already on the air or something. Like
Yeah.
it is fully blown. Like we've seen a whole first season, you know. We've seen this thing happen. So when we talk about the project, it's sort of, you know, the enthusiasm and just, wow, I want to see this thing on the air too.
Yeah.
You know, and so we have a bunch of points here, but I might be jumping ahead. But one of the biggest points I think is don't come in and read off of your list.
Yeah, we've
and,
talked to too many people that that incorporate that into their pitching, that bring some material and wind up reading a bit of it. And you know, our whole thing is that it's better to convey 50% of what you ultimately want to say, just in a conversation, than convey 100%. You know, while you read it.
Right.
So,
Oh, absolutely, much more effective. The other thing that Jerry put it off the list, ran off the list here with the very first point, which I think is we should really talk about.
yeah.
Which is, this is your philosophy, and I've always
Yeah.
admired it. And
Yeah.
and I try when I go off on do things on my own. I go, now how does Jerry achieve this? Own the time.
Yeah.
This is a genius suggestion. You know, talk a
Well,
little
no,
bit
it's,
about
you know,
that,
it's just
if you would.
absolutely. Well, it's, you know, it's the culmination. You know, you've spent a lot of time creating the show, creating the characters. You put a lot of work into it, and I think too many people have an attitude when they walk into and pitch that they're imposing on the execs. Well, that's not true, because that's what those people's jobs are. They're there to take pitches. So our whole thing is you know, this is your half hour to pitch. It's like, own the time. This is a time for you to now boast about what a great job you've done. Tell the world about your characters. Just, you know,
Right.
just
I love
just
that.
let it fly. I mean,
I'll-
it's again, it's your time. You have a captive audience. They're there to listen to you. So just own that time.
Right. The other angle of that I really love is the idea that never again is this thing going to be yours. You know, so let's say they love it.
Right.
Let's say they you can't get out the door without a deal.
Right.
It's still going to change. It's still going to morph. They're still going to have notes. They're going to have their own ideas. They're going to add a dog.
right.
But before that happens, when you're in that room pitching, man, you know, I mean, show business is about collaboration. It's not like writing a novel where you're sitting at home and you dream this thing into existence, except at the pitch stage. That's where it's like a novel. That's where the show exists as purely as you
Yeah,
have it.
absolutely.
Which is, and you know, this goes to also being prepared, you know. You can't do that if it's like, well, we're thinking kind of a, you know, and every point we make right now, I keep thinking of stories from show business where it's like the exact opposite, you know.
Right.
But you know, where people like the story of The Simpsons, you know, with Matt Groening, you know, like, you know, what am I gonna pitch? Well, I guess I'll, you know, just kind of coming in and pitching off the top of his head, you know, and creates this eternal great piece of greatness.
Yeah.
But you know, guys like us, you got to prepare.
No,
you
yeah,
have
no,
to be
yeah.
ready to go.
Yeah.
And so, and never read from your script. Let's see, what no, just kidding. What else should we discuss here? Let's see.
What did
Oh, well, All right, so Jerry and I have this. We're very anal about this stuff.
We always start out a project. We come up with an idea for something. We go, this is great. You know what? This time, one page. Let's just put on one page, one sheet, a few notes. I'll do like a little pencil sketch, and we'll just go on. Seriously, dude, let's just do it this time.
Yeah,
We
it's
don't
so
need a
hot.
full- Yeah.
We've got to. The iron is hot. We've
Yeah.
got to strike now. We need to do. Let's just do a one pager. Draw something on a napkin, Jerry.
Yeah.
Draw something. And
So
then
ultimately, we wind up with something like this.
cut to 6 months
Like-
later.
But
where-
we sort of can't help it, you know. We get into the development of things, and then I think sort of, you know, I think a lot it's just sort of out of respect. This is way overblown, by the way, you
Yeah,
guys.
this might have been a mistake.
We had to wind up creating an entire universe with this thing.
Right.
But
right.
I think sometimes.
But that was required of that project. I
It-
mean,
it
you know,
was.
it's sort of a sci-fi project that happens in another world, and we it was great, and character stuff was all there, and then we realized, oh crap, we have to invent an entire world from the ground up.
Right.
All right, and I remember it was like we were ready to pitch the show, but we really didn't have the milieu, you know, the planet, and we just had to look at each other and go, damn, we have a lot of work ahead of us, and we had to generate an entire planet from scratch. And
Yeah.
who are these people?
Yeah.
What are they like? What's this society like? And so we walk in with this inch thick book, but. The point on the list here that I think is relevant to this is you can't memorize this, and you know you can't.
No.
It's impossible. And also the other thing is you don't want to read out of the thing, and you don't want to. And so what we do is we create this. Jerry calls it you really should trademark this thing, a pitch refresher. And it's the panels, miniature panels of what we're going to be showing. Which, by the way, there's an easel right there. We use easels in our
show
presentations
you that.
quite often. But
By the way, if anybody has any comments or questions, just hashtag NATPE.
yes,
Right, please.
silent T.
But
so,
you know, I
so
think
this
that-
pitch refresher idea, where
Yeah.
I'll get it in the email from Jerry, like the day before we're going to pitch, or the week before we pitch, and it's these miniature frames of the artwork we're going to be showing. Oh, look, you can hold that up at some point.
Oh, excellent.
Is this a menu for lunch? Oh, I see. There we go. There we go. Oh, that was nicely done.
Thank you. I was a
But,
spokesmodel.
but
in
I
my
think the
previous
camera's over
life.
there, so.
Oh.
Could you just continually point?
I just tuck it into my shirt like a napkin, like a napbeacon. Whoa.
How many $1 million ideas are going to be generated at this one table? This is incredible.
Yeah, so the pitch refresher, and the reason we do it is we have so many properties that we're out pitching and optioning some here and there, and which is good. But rather than and we also have leave behinds pitch books that we always leave with the execs. So whenever sometimes the pitches may be a month or two apart, and rather than having to sort of refresh yourself through a whole pitch book. We make a pitch refresher, which is basically just maybe 2 or 3 pages with the images. Like Mark said, we have boards, images with just some bullet points of just the salient points.
Yeah.
That
So
we
when
want to
Jerry
get.
flips up that board, we've already gone through. We've already said, okay, when this board comes up, the things we're going to talk about in our casual discussion of our show that exists is bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, and that way you're prepared, you're ready, you know what it is, and then you just go.
Yeah,
you just
right,
riff.
right.
We end up finishing each other's sentences. We end up just sort of. I think some of the guys you've talked to have talked about how they get up and run around the room and stuff. The equivalent of that is Jerry and Mark sort of. That starts to get this excitement.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh my God, oh wait, no, wait, you know what I like even better. We're
Yeah.
stepping on each other and pushing each other out of the way.
So the points on these pitch refreshers sort of become jumping off points, and we'll just sort of go to places.
Yeah,
And we're
so you don't have to
wondering where
memorize that, the tome.
And you sit there wondering, where the hell is my partner taking this thing? Which is fun.
You
It's
better
actually
pull
happening.
this out.
I know. But anyway, the pitch refresher is a really helpful tool, and it'll save you time. And also, what you can do is once you create it, you'll make notes and tweaks after a pitch.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what,
Let's lose that board.
let's lose that board.
That
or
killed it
lose that-
for us. That one picture is the one that killed it.
Yeah.
But it's funny. Jerry has these 4 salient points here that the reason you're going in, yes, you're hoping to sell the show, but also you create these relationships with people. That the pitch is the perfect way to say, this is who we are. This is what our sense of humor is. This is how we approach characters, how we structure television programs. And so people see that the project might not be right for them right then and there. It just might not be something they're looking for. But Jerry and Mark, who are these guys? I know who they are. They're the guys who did that.
Yeah.
That pitch. They came in. They had it all together. And we've gotten several people calling us up. Didn't want to do that, but we have this other project that we're very interested in. Would you guys take a run at that?
If you can create an open door,
that's what you're doing
with the exec.
That's what
If
you're
you
doing.
think of your pitch is don't put so much pressure on it, but think of it as is even a meet and greet. You're showing what you can do, and they're listening to you, and they're taking it all in, and you're selling yourself as a creator and a producer.
Right.
And if even if they don't, if the project isn't right for them, if they like
Right.
you, they'll say, please feel free to come back in with whatever else that you have.
Right.
So.
One of these points you have here is pitch appropriate properties, and then and with that is sort of find out what they're looking for. Now, if you can get in advance, and you can get the word, because these guys have, especially at these networks, they are very they have a lot of people working very hard to determine a box they're shooting for, a target that they're shooting for, the kinds of things they're going to be looking for in a series, and the kind of things they aren't going to be looking for. And if you can find that out in advance, it's all the much better for you.
Yeah.
But the reason that I thought it was funny is that one of our more recent pitches, we had done that. We had gone in, met with the guys. Here's what we're looking for. Here's what we're not. And then we went in and pitched, and the ground had shifted in the 3 months we spent putting something together. The ground had shifted
Yeah.
completely, and it was utterly wrong.
Yeah, which happens.
Yeah. So it's just funny that. But the point that I'm trying to make is that 2 points back, pitching builds relationships. That was a great way to meet that guy. I mean, he saw what we were capable of, and sure enough, there was a very wide open door, and he's expecting more stuff
Yeah.
from us. So it's just funny. You can try as hard as you can to prepare, and you never know
Right,
what you're
yeah,
going to be
you
getting
can.
yourself into.
Yeah, but like we're talking about mandates, so if it's at all possible, try to find out what the network is looking for. Again, that can change rapidly.
Right.
Change overnight.
Yeah, it's like
they're always looking for the next SpongeBob. So if you have that, you can pretty
Yeah.
much take it anywhere. But
Meanwhile, nobody in their right mind will ever
Yeah.
want SpongeBob.
No.
Could ever greenlight something that insane and that
Yeah.
outlandish and that
yeah,
kid unrelated. I mean, it's just such a wild, bizarre.
yeah.
But yet everybody wants it. They
Yeah.
they think they want it.
We,
But-
we hear of people pitching inappropriate shows to the wrong networks. So that's always important is to
That reminds me of when I was just starting out in this business. They used to have this book called The Writer's Market.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Remember that? And
Yeah.
for every kind of writing, the writer's market for mysteries, and the writer's market for sports writing, and and hundreds of listings of, and every single one of them said, please read our magazine first before you submit.
Right.
Please look at one book we've published before you send us your ghost story
You're right.
to a electronics magazine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But so
It does happen
But
all
that
the
was
time,
something
though.
I was able to carry from those early days of just shooting in every direction, is that I've learned, read our magazine first,
Yeah.
look at our network,
Yeah. Well, right. I
What
mean,
do we
just an
program?
example of just knowing that the Disney XD is the boys' network.
Right.
Right.
Very helpful.
So It is. So,
Yeah. So all your distaff pitches.
right.
Not
Don't
not
bring
to
in a
the-
show about female plants to them. They're probably,
Kids-
it's
kids
probably
don't
the
like
wrong
plants.
place. Kids don't like plants. I've heard
You
that
learn
somewhere
things.
before.
You learn things from executives.
Absolutely.
Puppets aren't funny.
Yes, we had a pitch with a network exec who we had Atomic Puppet. Oh, by the way,
Oh yeah, that's not item number 7. Bring visual aids.
it helps, once in a while. We pitched a show. Actually, we're doing a show with Technicolor and Mercury Films now called Atomic Puppet. And when we pitched the show, Mark and I decided that we wanted to bring this guy along. We actually had him made. We commissioned a fellow named Pat Breimer, who is a amazing fellow, who's an old Hollywood puppeteer who did a lot of Shari Lewis's puppets way back in the day,
Right.
and a lot of different puppets. Anyways, we brought drawings to him, and he made this great hand wash tag up here. He made this great puppet for us, and we brought him to the pitch meetings. And when we finished our pitch, we had boards, and we talked about the show, obviously. And I would kind of bring him out and say,
Surreptitiously.
"Are we on the air yet?" And everybody would just kind of like, "Whoa!" So we wound up doing is taking him off. We had a great we had some great meetings with him, and we had one meeting with like 6 execs in there, and we wound up taking Atomic Puppet and sliding him across the table to the other execs, and all of them were just immediately turned into little kids. They were just putting the puppet on and playing with them, and anyways, it came out great. Actually,
Yeah.
that particular pitch went so well
Yes.
that we were in our cars driving past, and our agent calls and says they want the show. We haven't even
That was
got
pretty
back.
great. That was a great day. You pitch. You did smiling faces. Everybody was like, shaking our hands on the
Right.
way out, and then to get the call before you get back home.
And then he says, "We'll go great." He goes, "Nope." He goes, "We need to start a bidding war." And we did. We wound up.
Oh,
we
man.
wound up pitching to 2 other places.
This is one of the great stories of our careers. We sold this show twice. Unfortunately, the first time
know.
we sold it to a network that disappeared, that then shut down, which was a blow. But years later, come back around, and
Yeah.
again, everybody wants the show. So that's a tremendous success. Atomic Puppets, really.
And that's a good lesson too for having any properties, right?
Mm.
I mean, something may not resonate with
Right
an
now,
exec at the
you're
time,
right.
but right now,
And,
don't feel that you've wasted your time or lost cause.
Right, because executives die.
they
right?
do, not soon
Or-
enough, but
no. They might change jobs or something, or there's always an executive shuffle. There's always a bloodletting at what a network.
yes.
And hashtag nappy.
Go ahead, keep talking.
So a project that might that you put a lot of effort into, something that you've put your heart and soul into, may end up, having a second life later on. It
Yeah,
might be something
absolutely.
that never throw anything away.
Or you may wind up tweaking it.
tweaking.
Just sort of changing the color of the shoes the character wears, but then all of a sudden the world goes crazy.
Yes, it was the shoes. That was what it was.
Absolutely.
So, best and worst. Did you want to get into any of that?
I'll tell you what my worst was.
Oh, I think I know what it was. I wasn't there, thank God.
Years ago we were pitching with another friend. We were pitching a show to it was a primetime animated show, and we went into the pitch. And
No names, I think.
No names.
Okay,
We
good.
went into the pitch, and 2 assistants and the network head of the network was there, and as we're pitching, this is what we see. But every minute she would start to fall asleep in the pitch. So it's like, wait, what do you do? This we're not prepared for. We're prepared for the
See,
worst questions.
If there's anything you could take away from today, it's prepare for your exec falling asleep during the pitch.
She was falling asleep like every minute. She was nodding off during
Oh
the pitch.
my God.
So you're saying anyway. So then our characters, you would wait for her to come back. they go to the it was brutal, and we wound
Didn't
up.
her people like,
But, yeah.
try to like,
Well, her people flagged us down in the hallway as we were walking out, and they said, please, they said she recently had a baby and she's not getting much sleep, and it has no bearing on what
Wow.
what your thing was, but
Yeah.
it was near impossible to continue.
Wow.
It was not good.
That is a horror story.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
horror story.
Yeah, my worst pitch is that, yeah, and I wasn't even there. But that's the story I'm going to tell from now on. No, you go in, you never know how you're going to be received, and you never know the crazy things people are going to be expecting from you.
Yeah.
So just be prepared and love what you're doing, and that way you don't have to walk out, feeling brutalized if something goes horribly wrong.
Right.
Because you can believe in what you've got. The other thing, my showbiz general advice, just in show business, and I think it sort of applies to this, is just the shotgun effect, which is be doing 10 things at any one time. Never stop coming up with new stuff. I mean, you and I have a treasure trove of great things that not everyone has seen yet.
Right.
But we still have these, like we're currently developing 2 brand new things. Just somebody's told us sort of what they're looking for, and we came up with things. And so even though we've still got other things on back burners and whatnot, it's time to move forward. Always move. It's like Woody Allen's shark, right?
Right.
A shark always has to be moving forward.
Yeah.
What we have here is a dead shark. Yeah.
Right.
So
That's true.
so that's what show business is. You don't want to be a dead shark. You just you have to be creating new opportunities at all the time. And for somebody like us, that means you have to have new stuff.
Right.
And
right.
so we were not actually sitting on chairs. We're sitting on piles of pitches right now. So.
But going back to what we were talking before about how developed does an idea have to be before you pitch it, and like we're talking about doing this blown out book, and saying that we're going to start out with just with just a drawing and a few words, and we'll go pitch it like pitching something. Hey, let's pitch it on a napkin, man.
That's cool. It's rock and roll.
But I think, and I wonder, maybe we need psychological help. Like, why do we do this? Why do we get involved in this deep? And I think I think number one, I think partly it's respect to the idea. It's respect for the idea.
Right.
Right.
You gotta love it. We had to love that to do that much work on that project.
Oh,
we
no,
had
absolutely.
to have utter faith and belief.
And I think what you do is becoming a fan of your own creation.
You better be,
Yeah, right.
You're going, I don't know, this isn't very good. You know what, Jerry? That story, I think a lot of people in our position, a lot of people who do this, they made their own fun.
Right.
I did the same thing. I would sit and geek out on monster movies, and then I would go up to my room in Ohio and write my own monster movies when I was 12. I mean, I didn't have a camera.
Right.
I didn't know anybody who had a camera. But I was making my own fun, and I was going to do this, obviously. Apparently I was going to do this for
Right.
for quite some time, but that making your own fun, and that's still what we end up doing. I mean, one time I remember we like to work at Starbucks together, and because we can consume coffee and we can take up a whole table, and we were in Culver City at that triangular Starbucks, and we were laughing our ass off. I mean, something we were working on was just singing for us, and we were creating jokes and bits, and oh wait, that's the camera, or is that the camera?
That's the live cam. That's the
Thank
one
you.
we're recording for later.
Okay, so we're jamming on jokes and bits, and we're laughing, and our face is hurting, and we're crying, and this guy comes over, and he goes, I work at Sony across the street, and I just got to tell you, I don't know what you guys are working on, but it's going to be
That's right.
amazing.
Yeah.
He could just
Yeah.
he could feel it coming off of us, like, because we were just
Yeah.
just jamming.
Yeah.
And that's when you're doing the right thing, when your job is just making you that
Yeah.
happy.
I think the rules of a riff session, if you're going to work for an hour, spend the first 55 minutes drinking coffee and talking about music and other shit, other stuff. And then the last 5 minutes just kind of like, you know what, why don't you go off, write some stuff, and I'll write some stuff, and then we'll exchange. So sometimes it becomes sort of an excuse for like hanging out. Well, we're working.
Yeah,
But,
working hard. We're
Yeah.
hardly working.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask you, and I'm going to ask you a
About
question
what?
that you're not. I'm going to ask you a question.
Oh God.
Well, you know,
Am I ready?
well, you know my why I love telling stories.
Yeah.
I told you that I made comics when I was
Right.
a kid, and you said that when you I was reading your bio when you went to New York, and you worked in advertising, but you were also in a rock band, and you were writing
Four rock bands.
4 rock bands, and you were writing songs.
Right.
So, what my question was, what kind of songs were you? Was there a narrative? What?
Yeah.
Were you
That's
telling
interesting.
stories? Were you?
They weren't really story songs. It was loud rock music.
Right.
And it was usually like some sort of very, very simple, dumb idea, you
Like-
know?
right.
But I think that the correlation would be trying to synthesize something and make a point, you know? When the sprawl of a story is, you know, it's a complex thing, and you work it and you work it and you work it. But I think the only corollary I can come up with is that you're trying to make it work like that. Like when the story ends, boom, it adds up. It pays off. You know, a great song. I don't know if I've written any great songs, but I've written lots of them. And
How's my stain?
how's my stain? How's your stain?
Yeah, how's your stain?
How's your stain? That's a classic.
Come on.
But no, you see, I sound like I'm being facetious, but I believe that is
No,
a
yeah,
classic.
oh, absolutely.
So, that
Mark was in a rock band called Dondi's Bloody Sputum. Right.
yeah. That was just one of many. But Dondi's may have been the world's greatest rock band no one ever heard of.
Right.
But
from advertising, you went
oh
into
yeah, well no, I was doing everything though. I was writing. I was acting and doing improv and doing stand up and there was funny bands and there were serious bands that were trying to make music that, you know,
right.
like stuck and I was doing 100 different things. I can now thank my wife on the internet by saying, pick something.
Right.
Please God, just pick one thing that you want to do
Right.
for a living.
Right.
And maybe, you know, that's a good question. I mean, like, what do you do? How did you get to telling stories?
Yeah.
It's writing these stories, and I've written hundreds and hundreds of stories. You know, I guess it comes down to, like I said, just, you know, the simplest way to make an impact and to, you know, because there's all kinds of sparkly jokes in stories and twists and turns, you know, but then it's got to come to a point where it matters, even if it's the silliest, dumbest comedy.
Right.
You know, it still has to come down and fit and make some kind of impact.
Right.
And now I'm starting to sound like I'm full of shit. That's what I.
No.
That's what I think. I think you've asked me to talk too long. This is what happened.
No, it all makes
George,
sense.
what do you think? This is available.
quiet, yeah.
Oh, you were going to
No,
do that. Oh, shoot, that would have been good. We should have worked up a bit for that. I'm sorry, I stepped on you there.
We should show our little.
Oh. Well, what are you going to show him, Jerry?
No, I was just going to show you what we do is also this is a great little thing that we bring out at our pitches.
Shut
We
up.
found this great little easel at Graph Aids, this art supply
You'd be
store.
surprised
And
what a
just-
reaction this
Oh,
gets
so, yeah,
from people.
Yeah.
Ooh, oh, there's going to be art that goes on it. So don't get too excited yet, folks. People are always stunned. Where did you get this, Jerry? You know, they always want to know.
Yeah, so usually we have a stack. And I'll just put one. Usually we have a stack of boards, and we'll just put it up and talk about it. And
And
that seems
start
like-
going.
and just go. Absolutely.
This is the only one we're allowed to show you right now because it's the one that's actually happening.
It's actually happening.
Yeah, it's looking very good for Atomic Puppet right now, but we'll find out, right? You never know. One never knows.
These things change.
That's
These things
point four.
change
That should be
daily.
point 14. You never know.
It should be point
You can't
14.
count on anything.
No, I know. No, absolutely. anything else that you wanted to cover, or
Did we touch on all our bases?
I don't know, is any questions or comments?
Oh yeah,
or
we
anything
didn't
that
put.
people-
Did anybody? I highly doubt anybody tweeted any questions. Did anybody tweet?
We would have
You would have thrown it out
asked
to us.
them immediately if they did, but
You bastards.
but we did get a good amount of views, Jack.
Really?
How many did we get?
18,794.
No way,
If you
really?
wanna Thank your
Thanks,
viewers.
folks. I know. I
Are we
appreciate
out,
that.
Are we out of time?
Where
No, you can. Well,
you can talk.
I was just gonna say one other thing is that there's so much emphasis put on pitching to networks, and you don't always have to go
Right.
directly to a network. You need to look into production companies that already have relationships with networks, and there's a reason going to production companies. One is if you don't have a long track record, production companies, like we said, already have relationships, trusted relationships with networks, and it can be very beneficial going to production company first, because what happens is there's a number of production companies that work with different outlets and media outlets, and if you go to a network first and you get turned down, you can't go back to production companies, because the production company is going to want to know where this project has been pitched. So if you go to production companies first and you get turned down by 20 of them, then you can still go to the networks afterwards.
Yeah, and
So
you can still go to
you
20
you
more
can't do it-
production companies.
You can go to 20 more production companies. And a lot of times, I mean, from our experience, is you wind up with a better deal going through a production company.
Mm-hmm.
So because then they work that into their budget with the network. So that's
you have a better chance of getting a piece of the action on the thing too,
right.
if you've got a pre-existing deal with somebody.
Yeah, you know,
before
it seems the only time we go to a network is when we're familiar with a mandate that they have.
Right. Yeah.
And
working relationships with the people, you know.
Right.
The networks in kids television, you know, the networks are pretty big production arms. You know, they're the beasts already. They've got you know, the chain of production already
Right.
rolling.
Right.
So it's not a standing order not to go to them, but
yeah.
it can be helpful.
A lot of networks have, like you said, have their own production companies too. So sometimes
right.
you may not want to go directly to the network itself, but you may want to go to the production arm of the network and pitch to.
Right.
So,
Very good. Good point.
hey, got to know those things.
Always accept that. That's the other thing. When you go to a pitch, always accept the water that they offer you. I think that's very important.
Except when you're
Because-
given a decision to either like room temperature water or water, cold water in a cup. I mean that goes beyond the
Yeah.
Call
Now,
of
if
Duty,
we
but-
had, Clay, if we had wanted room temperature water in a cup, would you have been able
would
to?
have been very, very telling about you guys. Would have thought you were innovators.
Oh,
And I would
damn.
have remembered that for the
Damn.
rest of my life.
Oh my God, we would have made an impact.
Like, those guys were dope. That wasn't even an option.
They bend the world to their own will. That's incredible. Damn it!
Just
All right, from
people
now on,
like that.
you see, now this is awesome. We came here to impart some things, and we just learned something that we can use now in
See?
the future.
And we built we can come in here every day now
Yeah, for
and
future
do a
pitch meetings.
for
when they
future
ask
pitch
for
reading,
water and
right.
Yeah.
stuff, just switch it up on
Can we
them
just use
somehow.
the? Would you mind
Be
if we?
like, I need it in a cup, but only 3/4 full.
Do you have a couple offices we can just like hang out in and have our pitch meetings in here?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, that'd be good.
That would be good. That'd
We
be
can
awesome.
stream 'em.
Thank you guys for the opportunity of doing
Yes.
this, though.
Thank you,
Uh,
NATPE. You
So,
guys had a
ladies
good
and
time.
gentlemen,
It's
this
awesome.
has been a brown bag webcast. I'm going to close the recording.
Wow.